Thanks for that one, Matt. That was really good. Am I the only person that was thinking about how to hack with Health Kit so I can beat my wife at our workouts and finish the rings before each other? I don't know, but I think that API is gonna help with that one. Anyway, so I'm going to give you a bit of a talk, which is about how my app turned 10. I didn't really realize it, but it sort of clocked over, and I realized that one of my apps, or a bit of a family of apps, had actually turned 10 years old in the App Store, and that's pretty old for anything, really. So anyway, I thought I'd give you a bit of a run through of how it went and tell you a bit of a story. Okay, so the primary app that I'm going to talk about is called Great Coach AFL. So it's been in the App Store for about 10 years. Things have changed, moved on, but it's kind of pretty much the same. So where it started was this is an original page that I found somewhere in my archives. So it was originally going to be called Rotation Coach, and pretty much when the iPad was announced, I started looking at how I could make an app that would be able to do that. It corresponded with one of my sons playing footy, so it seemed like a good sort of way to merge interests together. So that's I found that page was done in 14th of September in 2010. So just around the iPad launch. So I worked out, well, this is how I could build an app. That was the concept, and I just went about starting to build it. So 10 years later, as a bit of a summary, so years in the App Store, about 10. Number of units sold, 7,840. Its average rating is 4.1, but I don't take that as a measure of my success. 80 releases across the family, and now the application's grown from AFL to netball, soccer, hockey, and basketball. Predominantly AFL and netball are probably the majority of the app units that are sold, but AFL is probably still the clear winner. Support emails, probably something I can touch on later. I've had 745 over the 10 years, so that's not too bad. The storyboard scenes in the code, there's 120 storyboard scenes. 28% of the code is in Swift, and there's 87,000 lines of code so far. That's in primarily Objective-C, but there's some configuration work and that sort of thing as well. A little smattering of JavaScript in there as well. That's a bit of a summary of the application. What it does, it's primarily for helping teams manage their players. So team managers and coaches, they can manage all their players, put them into positions, manage player rotations, so which players come off, which players go off, and it also manages their time very carefully. So that in sort of junior sports, making sure that everyone gets a fair go, it's pretty important. So that's the sort of functionality the app does. And we also maintain players, and then there's lots and lots of stats that it lets you collect. So you can get the timeline of your scores, you can go through all your history, you can look at all the different stats, you can visualize them on a board, work out where all the stats are happening, where are the free kicks happening, where are the goals being kicked from, that sort of thing. So anyway, it helps with that sort of analysis. So I thought I'd probably give you a bit of a if someone's new to the App Store and thinking about getting into application development, I call this the app cycle, because I really only started with that point of having an idea, and the rest of it I kind of learnt. So I thought, I might as well tell a few people what I found along the way. So after the idea, you always have to start with the icon first, then a bit of code and the artwork. But once you've got that done, then there's all this other stuff that I found that you need to really probably put work into getting the release. So that's user guides, tutorial videos. You've got the App Store artwork, the copy that you're going to put on the App Store. How you're going to say that what the app does, how it works. a lot of material there. The marketing website, that you probably want to put some more information up, apart from just what Apple lets you put onto the App Store. There's marketing and PR and advertising. And once you've actually got your app launched, there's support emails that come in as well. So someone says, can I have this app for free? Do you offer a free trial? How do I get this app to support a different sport? All sorts of different questions. And I guess that's one of the things you probably need to consider is after you ship that app, support emails happen. And being prepared and is a good way to build a relationship with your customers, and certainly help spread the word as well. So support email, I wouldn't underestimate the importance of it. And after that, you'll some of those support emails and ideas will start featuring into new features that you might come up with. There's technical debt. As Apple releases new frameworks, new phones, devices come out, you'll need to ship different updates. And then there's a bit of fashion debt. And I'll go a bit through a bit of those later on. So just kind of consideration. So when I talked about user guides and things like that, so with all these sports, so I've got 5 different sports. There's variations between them, a lot of shared code, but they are still different sports. They work differently. So it actually takes a fair bit of time to put a user's guide together when the application's got a lot of function. So after doing multiple support, I've kind of worked out how to build a single user's guide, write it in Markdown, and then build some macros and things like that to publish 5 different versions with all their variations into kind of one supportable thing. Tutorial videos. So when you think about the tutorial videos, I think there's probably at least 15 videos, different lengths of time. They all take a long time. So if you do screen updates and those sorts of things, there's a fair bit that you need to update and revise and publish. So making a change on the screen, you've got to kind of think about what the debt is that you need to for updating user guides and all your associated tutorial videos. A bit about the code. So the core code base is Objective-C and Swift. I use lots of storyboards and core data. The pictures there are the sort of core data that I've got. There's also the storyboards. I've kind of got a whole series of generic storyboards that are used across all the different sports. And then there's a series of storyboards that are set up for individual sports. It uses auto layout extensively, which has worked out quite well. So you can, some sports are oriented towards an iPad that you use in landscape mode. Some of the sports are more oriented towards portrait. So anyway, there's things that you need to consider, but the auto layout, of course, makes a lot of that easy. I've resisted going down any of the Swift UI path just yet for this particular code base. So apart from a core code base, that's the database, the storyboards, and sort of common code, then I've got a series of specific personalities, I call them. So it's subclasses that provide particular behavior for different sports, scoring, types of statistics that you collect, those sorts of things. They also have whole sets of artwork that need to be produced. So we have team logos. So we have basketball logos, for different teams. This is sample data that you start off in the app. And of course the icon. So whilst it's very common, there's a lot of work that goes into all the different versions and to make a release. Okay, the App Store. This is part of the thing I guess you got to factor in, is that when you're building your app and you're ready to ship, you've got to kind of get the App Store videos and the App Store screenshots together. They take a little bit longer than you think, and then I've been pretty lucky just getting away with just one iPad. I usually go for the 12-inch Pro resolution, and I can scale it down. But if you've got to do that repetitively, if you've got to generate lots of screenshots for lots of different releases and you're doing a lot of UI changes, you just got to factor in that's extra work that comes down the line. And getting your ad copy written. So I remember the first time I had my first app ready to release, and then I got to the App Store and started doing some screenshots, and then I go, well, okay, how am I going to write the app description? And I could have just said this app is great, but to put a good description in, it takes a lot of work. So I think if you're thinking of releasing on a weekend, it might take you all weekend by the time you've written the copy, got the artwork together, all those sorts of things. Just stuff to factor in. Marketing and PR, I'll tell you, I'm terrible at it. So I think my advice is go and find someone that can help you do that. I experiment with Facebook ads, using Twitter ads, those sorts of things. I didn't see them really kind of work too well. But anyway, I think if you're really serious about marketing and your app needs a big market, get somebody. Okay, email support. Well, the way my sports work is a lot of sports happen on the weekend, and I can tell you I wasn't really ready for it when it first started happening, but as sales started to really peak, the number of support emails would pop up on a Saturday morning when someone was just about to use the app for their game, or I get them on Sunday night when they're writing their match reports. And it's one of those things that really cuts into your time. So you get a support email pop up, someone's got a problem or they've got a really difficult question, and you go, well, am I going to spend the time to deal with this now, or are you going to defer it? I mean, I know that people were pretty dependent on getting their reports out and making sure they could get their plans. So I tended to spend a fair bit of time responding to those sorts of support emails. And I think it's worth doing it. You build a loyal customer base and build a community as well. Okay, talking about technical debt. Fortunately, I haven't had lots of technical debt. I guess the user interface, zibs and storyboards, auto layouts, I guess they evolved as that technology came out. I would take them and add them in. I haven't really made the jump to Swift UI on that particular code base, but it's something that would certainly make things simpler. Of all the refactoring and those sorts of things, probably resisted doing most of it until I really, really needed to. Although I thought about rewriting, the data model and rewriting the data, some of the key views. I would usually only spend time when I needed to support something like a different sport or a different sort of layout option. But otherwise, it's gone through a few generations. Objective-C, Arc, Blocks, Swift. So there's some code that's from the old days, some code that's fairly modern, but that's how you go. I'm not too particular about rewriting code for just rewriting its sake. But the other thing is it's an iPad OS based application, so it hasn't had to respond too much to changes in screen sizes and things like that. It's been fairly static, sort of that sort of A4 page type of layout, which has been good. On fashion debt, wow, back to 2011. It was a different time then. Apps looked like the real world. Skeuomorphism was everything. So there's some screenshots there of the AFL app. I used green grass in the background, clipboards. In netball, I used the Corinthian leather. I hope everyone knows that from the old Notes app. And I took that through to the user interface design and through to the soccer apps as well. So very much buttons were all very button. So if you look at it now, you can sort of tell the age of the apps. Probably the biggest area of fashion debt and the biggest hassle I had was iOS 7. So 2013 was not a good time. It was a time that I was trying to build a basketball version of the app. and I just went through so many user interface versions. I've got screen concept after screen concept after screen concept, trying to work out how to make an app that used to be kind of visually rich kind of look kind of minimal, right? That's a version of basketball that I actually shipped with that iOS 7 app, and I really resisted taking that design to any of the other sports until I kind of things probably settled down in the iOS front. Fonts became a bit thicker. Icons became a little bit more pressable. So anyway, fashion debt is one of those things you got to factor in. Your app will get old. It's just how it works. So the fashion debt today, I've kind of settled on this particular style. It's still got little elements of the sort of iOS 7, thin, minimal icons. The graphics has got a bit cleaner and that sort of stuff. It doesn't look as skeuomorphic, but hopefully it's still got enough affordances to help users do the things they need to do. Okay, talking about the business model. Well, I guess you got to find a business model to fit the app. This particular app is of a style that there's a lot of functionality there, and it takes time for a user to learn it and understand it and get the benefits of it. So it's perhaps not one of those apps that you're going to pick up, play around with it for 30 seconds and then decide to buy, for example. So my kind of model is not to use a free trial. It's pretty much to keep a premium price on it. The website provides a whole user guide. There's all the tutorial videos. So if someone wants to find out what the app does, how it works, I want them to go and find out and discover that. If they're a bit hesitant about spending the money, it is an expensive app, so it does sort of select the users who actually want to invest the time to learn the app. So if you think of something like Photoshop, it's an expensive app. People are going to spend the time to learn it. That's the sort of application it is. It's definitely not a smaller consumer app. I have considered subscriptions, and when I maybe put some back-end services there so people could share data and those sorts of things, I think that's a reasonable time that asking for a subscription would be. Otherwise, it's I kind of request, a reasonable fee for the service the application provides, and maybe if there's a back-end service, then I'd start looking at a subscription revenue feed as well. I have got another app that uses in-app purchases, and that's quite successful. But you average about one purchase to about 10 downloads. But that's a different style app, and you expect them to get it, feel it, try it out, and then if they want to purchase the full version, then give it a go. So anyway, have a bit of a think about the business model. Success in the App Store. Well, don't look at me as success in the App Store. But I think you can make money if you're in the right time, the right place with the right app. So why not, write an app? But I think there's a lot of other areas of success. So I personally find it something that I can do, which is different from my day job, which is really valuable to be able to work on stuff, draw graphics, try things out that I wouldn't normally be paid to do. Gives you an opportunity maybe to contribute to a community outside of your code, so like solving someone's problem for real, so helping team managers and that sort of thing get through their day. They spend a lot of time contributing to teams, especially like junior teams. So the apps kind of help solve a good problem. So and I've got a lot of connections out of my support emails that I start. And then there's personal satisfaction, just being able to do your own application, publish it, and put it out there. It gives you a good sense of satisfaction. So there's probably other ways to measure success than just the code. Anyway, that's probably a bit of a summary of the app.